What's going on, guys? Matt with Motorworks here, and in today's video we're going to replace the battery in the Can-Am Spyder. Alright, Brian, this is a pretty simple job. Where the battery is located is a bit of a challenge to get to, but we'll go over exactly how to do it in this video so that it's easy for you guys to do that are watching this video. First thing we're going to go over are the tools we need for this job. All right, so here are the tools we're going to be using for today. A flathead screwdriver, a T30 Torx bit, a 10 millimeter socket with extension, as well as a ratchet, either 1/4 inch or 3/8, whichever you decide you want to use. Also a screwdriver with a number 3 Phillips head tip, and an electric screw gun. That is optional, but electric screw gun if you have one. Also, a place to set your bolts, so a nice rag so that you know where all your bolts are when you take them out. All right, to remove the seat, you just want to push in on the key and turn toward the right, or toward this gas cap there to pop the seat up. The battery is located under the left side panel here. To get this panel off, we just need to remove these 2 screws. There's also a screw directly beneath this cover between these 2 screws that once you remove these 2 screws, you'll be able to gain access by lifting this panel and removing that screw under here. These 2 clips and these 3 screws here. All right, now the other screws, I'm just going to remove those. They're standard lefty-loosey, so just remove those screws now, and then we'll be able to take that cover off. I'm going to use my electric screw gun to get these 2 out. Alrighty, we don't want to take these 2 clips out yet because now that we have all the screws out, we have to get one hidden screw that's under this cover here. So we got enough access here, and these panels are pliable enough we can lift up on that, and you can see there's one hidden screw that we have to remove. Alright, have that screw out there. Alright, so to remove these clips, the way you do it, you just take your flathead screwdriver, come underneath the clip like that, pop that up, and then that should just pull out like that. I'll show you again here. Just get under that edge, pop that up, and then that should just pull out just like that. Alright, so that panel, you gotta be careful when you take those clips out, it's gonna want to fall off. We then have to unplug our turn signal, which you just, to unplug that, just lift up on that clip, and then that should pull apart. We'll just set this off somewhere safe. All right, now we have access to our battery. It's just 2 10 millimeter screws here. All we got to do is loosen and take those off. Always start with the negative side first. That way you don't shock yourself by trying to remove the positive side. So we get the negative side off. We want to make sure that that's out of the way and not making contact with our battery. Now, once we have that negative off, we can move over to the positive side. You can take that out. Be careful, there's a battery terminal nut that could fall out of the side when you're removing that. See how that wants to fall out just like that? So you just want to be careful of that little guy there. Put that back in. All right, once the battery is disconnected and we have no more power leads going to the battery, to remove it, just pull down on this little strap here. It just hooks in onto this hook here. And then we can lift up and pull out that battery there. That's how you take the battery out. This is a good battery, so I will just be putting this battery back in, and we'll show you that process now. If you look in here, before you install your battery, you want to make sure that your strap is hooked around the hook. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but there is a hook inside here. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. But there is a hook inside here. You want to make sure that that strap's nice and secure on that hook. Put some tension on it. Battery's light enough. You can lift it up with one hand and slide that in there. But you want to make sure that that rubber strap is still hooked in there tight. And then pull down, and then that'll hold battery in place. One side note, if your Can-Am is a little bit older, you want to check the condition of this strap and make sure that it's not dry rotted and it's still holding your battery tight, because if it's just rubber, these can tend to dry out and crack and become damaged to where they don't hold this battery down tight anymore. And if that's the case, then this battery will just be hanging and flopping around in there, and that could cause issues down the road. So just make sure that this strap's in good order. This one is. So we're ready to go ahead and hook the battery back up. Now when you hook any battery up, you want to make sure that the negative is out of the way, and we want to hook up the positive cable first. So we'll make sure that our cables are running correctly. We'll get that negative cable out of the way. Then we will hook up our positive cable first. Again, be careful of this nut on the back here. You want to make sure that that stays in and does not fall out. You can put a little grease on there if you prefer, but if I just hold that in there with my finger while threading that bolt in, works just fine. And you just want to get that started. Do all your tightening of this terminal now, because you don't want to electrocute yourself or short anything out. So make that relatively tight, and then put the boot cover over top. And then that side's done. We can then move over to our negative terminal. All right, so when we hook up the negative, we also want to make sure that that nut doesn't fall out. On this particular battery, we don't have to worry about that. But just make sure if your battery's different that you don't lose that battery terminal nut. And same thing with the positive. We want to make sure that we snug that down and then wiggle that, make sure it's not going anywhere. Our battery's now reinstalled, hooked up. It's a good time at this point to go up to the bike and make sure it starts, because you don't want to put this all back together and have a bike that doesn't start. So we'll just go through the motions. Start. Now depending on why you have to replace the battery, if it's because the battery sat, more than likely it's just a bad battery. But if you've been riding the bike for a while and your battery is dead, you could have a charging issue. So you might want to test the charging system at this point. I know the charging system works good on this one, so I'm not worried about it, but it is something at this point too. You want to also check that charging system, make sure it's working properly. We're going to now take and put this cover back on, and I'll show you how to do that now. All right, very first thing we want to do is clip our turn signals back in and make sure we get the colors going to the right color. So this lighter gray. Sometimes it helps to have two hands. Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
Clip that one in, and then the darker one, clip that one in. And then those are clipped in. You could also check to make sure it works before you actually button everything up, but we don't have to worry about that. I know it's going to work. All right. So after we plug the turn signal in, we have to sneak in the panel behind this cover panel here. And then the first thing we'll do is reinstall these clips back here so that it holds everything in place. Just put those clips in. Make that the first thing you do, because they're the easiest thing to do. And then when you reinstall the bolts, you want to look and see, they're all the same length, so the length's not what's you're looking for. You see this little plastic washer? You want to make sure that anything that's a painted part has that little plastic washer on there to keep from gouging the paint out when you tighten the bolt. See, there's 3 without, a little plastic washer, then there's 3 with. So the 3 without go in the back here, and the 3 with will go on the painted parts. All right, so that's something worth noting when you put this back together. So we'll start with that hidden one so we don't forget it, because it is something that is easy to forget. And we'll just make sure that we lift up on the panel and hand tighten first. All right, then we'll just go around and make sure that all the bolts are in. All right, after we have everything in and it's all tightened down, we can then lower our seat, make sure that latched in. We'll do one final check, make sure that our turn signal works. Got that plugged in correctly, and alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you liked the video, as always, give it a thumbs up. Drop any comments below. But we'll see you in the next video. I'm Matt. This is Motorworks. Thanks for checking it out.